Welcome back to another stream. Today we're in the Park Drive drama map, and we're just going to be kind of chilling about in here. We're not really going to be doing too much, and we're just going to be having a little bit of a reminiscing about old times of Park Drive, how far Park Drive came along, and we're just going to do a Park Drive sort of stream in general, just to remember the good old times about Park Drive. Hi Golden Studios. So yeah, Golden, Dylan. It's a reminiscing stream today. We're kind of, looking back on Park Drive. Hi Steve, it's a reminiscing stream today. We're looking back on Park Drive, how far it's become. And I'd like to know, hi Limestone too, I'd like to know down in the comments at the side, which episode you started watching Park Drive. Were you an early viewer? Did you just watch a late-ish episode first? Did you then go back through and watch the earlier ones, or do you not know the beginning of Park Drive? It's completely, your time to say. So I'm going to go over every single person in the graveyard. This is where we're going to take things. This is kind of like the best place to reminiscing about Park Drive, as we've got different characters and stuff here. So the graveyard is filled with characters who were on the show, who were part of the show, and then there is some gravestones that have characters that would have been relations to people who lived round here, who would have obviously died years ago. All the gravestones, not all the gravestones say anything, I don't think, but they've all got the dead characters' names from Park Drive. So I'll tell you all their relations, like if someone's related, I'll tell you exactly who. Mary's funeral was on episode 55. Yes, I believe it was, and Jamie had a massive argument with the vicar. The episode was called Jamie versus the Vicar, and Jamie came to the funeral, but he was in he had it in his mind that he was going to destroy the funeral. He was going to make it a living hell, as obviously Mary had betrayed Jamie in such a bad way. Well, let me know. Would you have liked Mary to have survived? Would you have liked Mary and Jamie to get back together? Are you glad that they separated? In my personal opinion, I'm in a way glad that they separated, but sometimes I do wish that Mary had have still been alive, because some of the stuff that I made Mary do over her time in Park Drive was just had me and the other actors in stitches, just had us absolutely crying with laughter, like on Lisa's funeral when she ran in and tried to sort of turn on and seduce the vicar right in the middle of him doing a service while Billy was doing his speech. That was just putting the comedy. No, there isn't. Yes, there is actually. Yes, there is. But we're only talking about Park Drive today, Steve. We're not going to the other parts of the city. Yeah, I loved Mary. I'm in Mary's skin right now, as you guys can see. I agree. Is good they separated. It was in a way, because it kind of shows how different characters can move on. Do you know what I mean? It shows how they were together and then they separated. But yeah, I mean, I liked the idea of killing Mary off at the time, your camo. But sometimes I wish I had have kept her. Okay, Limestone 2 uploaded the continuity. I'm watching it. Oh, okay, fair enough. Alright, well, we'll start by going through the graveyard then. I guess that's where we're going to start. And, of course, we're going to start with the first ever Park Drive death. This was Shirley Woods. She died on episode 7, I believe. I think she had an accident on episode 6. And then I believe the accident led to the death on episode 7. And it was a So Shirley was obviously Noreen's best friend. If you didn't watch the early days of Park Drive, so think of like I guess like two old ladies who've like known each other for years, who like grow up around the same area. Just think of like two people what no matter like how their life has gone, like they've always stayed friends. Hi Orange. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's obviously like two people that were friends at school, and when school finished, they stayed good friends. So Shirley was the type of person who Noreen would go around to her house for a coffee. Shirley would sometimes go to hers for a coffee. They'd have shopping days together. Noreen, when Noreen's husband was alive, old husband, Noreen would take her husband, Shirley would take her husband, and they'd all go out for meals. That was the type of friendship that Noreen and Shirley had. I like what we did with Shirley, but I think it definitely, if we had have kept Shirley alive a bit longer, we definitely could have done some cool stuff with the two characters, having like days out and having like gossiping around the neighbourhood and stuff. That's kind of one thing I do regret, but then I do kind of like how sort of Shirley dying obviously changed Noreen, and I guess in a way made her who she is today. Who she was until she obviously passed. We've got Lisa Parson, who died on episode. She had an accident on episode 16, but I don't think she died until sort of a couple of episodes after. I can't remember which episode, but I remember Martin doing a scene in the hospital where he had to turn the life support machine off, which I've got to play it to Martin Parson. He played an absolutely amazing role as Martin, and doing that scene, like he played it so realistically, and stuff like that. That it was just like, it was so like believable in a way, and he just did such an amazing job. But Lisa Parson was in the Parson family, Martin being the dad, obviously Sarah being the wife, and obviously Lisa and Billy, the two brothers, the two brother and sister, and obviously, as time went along, it turns out that Lisa and Billy were actually to an affair that happened on 2 occasions. So it actually turns out that Sarah and Paul had an affair on 1 occasion, and she got pregnant, and she was a little bit worried, so she ended the affair, decided that she was going to go back to Martin, she was going to stick with Martin, and she should never have had the affair. Martin never found out, and then something drew them back together again. After Lisa was born, a couple of years after Lisa was born, another affair started up, and another kid got involved, which was obviously Billy, and then again, for whatever various reason, she obviously wouldn't be sure if Martin was the proper father, or if Martin found out, so she decided to end the affair. Paul had no clue that he was the dad. There was maybe odd suspicions, but they just all kept quiet. Martin thought it was to do with a skin condition, and yeah, pretty much that's the story of the Parsons. But yeah, Lisa did die round about in between sort of episode 16 and 28. She died sometime along there, just before Christmas, I think it was, that I'm quite aware of. Just before Christmas, I think. We've got Matthew Armstrong. This is the postman, the first of 2 postmans to appear in Park Drive. So Park Drive was well known for its postmen who would like come and deliver a parcel, but there was something a little bit more special about this postman compared to the other postman. Now, the other postman was actually related to this postman. They were actually brothers, and this other postman came and took the role of being the postman round here. Decided to take the role when this postman died. Now, this postman, Matthew Armstrong, was actually already set for moving away. They needed more postmen up in Noble City, so Matthew Armstrong was going to move post office depots and was going to move up to Noble City, which is actually where his brother was. But unfortunately an accident happened and Matthew Armstrong never actually moved away and actually died on his leaving party. But Matthew Armstrong was well known for his singing. He was always like singing as he was walking up to people's houses to post a letter or deliver a parcel. He'd always have a little brief chat with them, you know, how's your day been, you know, how you doing, what you been up to, you know, the weather's nice. He was just a happy chappy person and stuff like that, which was, you know, really good. Enjoyed it. I love that postman. Shame that we got rid of him in a way, but like I say, you know, storylines have to go on. You know, you might like a certain character, but you know, tragic things happen to people in real, don't they? You know, there's someone who you might like as a friend, but you know, they could die tomorrow. Not, you know, I'm not being harsh or anything, but not all good things last forever. And you know, obviously he was still mentioned in a fair few Park Drive episodes after. We've got Mary Jones. This was the skin that I'm in now. This was the Jamie's wife. She was known as a sexy, appealing character in Park Drive. So she would kind of always, you know, sort of flirt with the boys, seduce the boys, I guess tease them in a way, you know, make them look at something they can't have, and then sometimes certain people would get what they thought they couldn't have. And she was married to Jamie. They formerly used to live over there at Oak Manor, but that's now no longer Oak Manor. It's a pair of apartments. And Jamie actually moved just up the road from the church onto Grove Avenue, and Mary actually moved into Mini House Road, into some small houses, which is no longer here anymore. It's actually formally replaced with a KFC, but there was some little like they were meant to be like little rough sort of like druggy houses, and she moved into there. She got onto drugs after you know, relationship and marriage went down the drain, and unfortunately she died at the postman's leaving party as well. No longer made it, unfortunately. Is Camo here? Oh yeah, Camo is here. Yeah, so she no longer obviously made it, and she's been referenced now and again in Park Drive since. Her sister actually joined the series quite late-ish on as a salesperson who, you know, like who sort of like sells houses, and she's sort of like the person who is at the house when people go like to view it, and she'll like show them round. And she had a couple of yeah.
You'll never guess what I'm deleting out of one of my arenas at the moment.
MC Noble.
No, I remember when we did that for what was it, for Park Drive?
Oh yeah.
In one of my arenas.
Oh, when Bill Woods took Ethan. Yeah, when Bill Woods took Ethan to see a monster truck show, and
Yep.
Ethan had found that letter. And realised that his dad had done more like bad stuff to his mum, and then Bill Woods like raged in the monster truck arena and had a massive shouting fit. And then he tried to apologise, but Ethan wouldn't have it, and then Ethan just got Bill even more mad. And then right at the end of this scene, I did a massive screaming noise, and you peed yourself laughing.
That was really funny.
And you said you were going to take the car and that, and like when you left the door I went something like ah but really loud. Yeah, there's Mary Jones. Anyway, we've got Neil Woods and Jonathan Woods. So Neil Woods Neil Woods was actually Bill Woods' dad, but he was actually Steve Woods' dad, who was actually Shirley's husband. So Shirley's husband. Shirley's husband. Oh, actually, that doesn't make sense then, does it? You know what? I think I've just made a massive mistake, guys, because I always said that Bill Woods was related to Shirley Woods, but Shirley Woods would only have the Woods name from marrying Neil Woods. So technically, Bill Woods would have been related to Neil Woods. Sugar. Yeah, so it technically Shirley would have had a different last name. So I guess this would have been Bill Woods' brother then. Yeah, this would be Bill Woods' brother, and basically, yeah. So Neil Woods was never featured in Park Drive. He died before Park Drive started, as you can see, 2005. Died in a car crash when a lorry actually crashed off of a bridge. It like going over a highway. The lorry came down and landed on top of their vehicle, killed them both. And this is Jonathan Woods, which is again Steve Woods' brother. Steve Woods' brother. So we'll take it round here. We've got Jimmy J. Johnson. So this was actually Derek Johnson's son. He was played by Amir Donachi. He played the role from about, I'd say, in the 70s, sort of sometime episode 70 something. He played the role of Jimmy Johnson till about 120, I think, till around Christmas 2017, when his character died. But Amir himself actually agreed to stay at Park Drive just to help us like get into skins and stuff. And stuff like that. So that was obviously quite alright that we still had him to help us. We've got Tony Metcalf. This is Tony the Plumber. Tony the Plumber didn't actually appear in Park Drive that often. He actually appeared once at the very beginning of Park Drive, when he was plumbing round here and he didn't fix Martin's sink properly, which led to Camo's first role in Park Drive. Camo has actually played a few characters in Park Drive. He played a plumber. He played a Taliban. He played a policeman. He played another person that knocked at someone's door in like a bit more of a later episode. He's played characters just walking by the street, and then he more recently obviously played Ethan Woods. But Tony Metcalf was the original plumber. And he came in on episode 1, didn't fix Martin's sink properly. They had an argument, he left and he wasn't seen for a while. Then he was featured in a later scene where Martin was to get buffed and hit the gym, and Tony would actually be in the gym itself. And then more recently, Tony came back to Park Drive to do a job, and he did some bad stuff. He did some like evil stuff. So for example, he's a plumber, so what he'd do is he'd go and like break someone's gutter on purpose. So like they'd have a leak, and then he'd like act as if he was passing by, see the leak. He'd knock at the door, and then he'd like, obviously they're talking to a plumber, so then they'll get him to do the job, and then he'll charge him a quite expensive price, but then they'll think, well, if he hadn't have seen it, it could have got worse, so we'll pay it. And then he's ripped him off, and he's got a few notes in his arse pocket, and he actually died on the final episode of Park Drive, when Bill Woods shot him inside of the vicar's house. He was a good character. He was known to have a Geordie accent. I voiced him. He was quite fun to voice. I wish in a way I should have done more with him, instead of like leaving him out of Park Drive. Stuff like that. And it's all good. It's all good in the hood. We've got Timmy Woods. Timmy Woods was actually Steve Woods' granddad. He was actually born in 1926 and actually lasted till 1970. So he wasn't what you would call a granddad that Steve Woods really knew that much. As a matter of fact, I think if we go to Steve Woods' grave, wherever it is, it's somewhere along here. Yeah, you see 1984. So Steve Woods was obviously born after Timmy Woods had obviously passed away, but this would have been Shirley. This would have been Neil Woods' dad. This would have been Neil Woods' dad right there. We've got Laura Smith. Laura Smith is just a random person. She's got no relation to anyone who's ever been in Park Drive. There was a Sid Smith who came into Park Drive for a little while, but they had no relation. They had no connection. We've got Sammy Race. Sammy Race was actually Noreen Race's mum. So this was actually Noreen's mum. She was never shown in the series, obviously died 1980, so she died a long while. She was born in 1921, died in 1980, and stuff like that. And yeah, we've got Betty Loveridge. Betty Loveridge was Jamie Loveridge's grandma. She died in 2005. She was born in 1930, but she died in 2005. We've got Viv Johnson. Viv Johnson, I think, was Paul Johnson's mum, or Paul Johnson's grandma, or something like that. She was some relation to the Johnsons, which was a hint to why Paul came round here before Derek and Marcus, because obviously there was some late lost Johnson who lived round here years ago. She died in 1984. And then last but not least on this side, we've also got Bobby Johnson, which I think would have been Paul's granddad, who died in 1980 as well. Who died just 1980 couple of yeah. Yellow Jack. By the way, it's Jack. Yeah, so what I was meaning, I couldn't be bothered to type it, if I'm completely honest with you, Jabbo. But what I meant is the episode, the first episode of the Kelton drama is going to start in the daytime. So what I meant by it's going to start in the daytime is technically, imagine like when we were filming the last episode of Park Drive, imagine like what would have been happening in Kelton like at that time, like while while Noreen was dying, while the fire was going off, while Bill Woods had the vicar hostage. So what it technically is showing, it's kind of showing the same day and the same day as the last episode of Park Drive, but it's showing in Kelton Village. So what I mean by that is Derek and Marcus don't arrive at night, because in the Park Drive episode, it's night when Noreen dies and they get a really late, like, last train. So what it's going to do is the episode is going to start in the daytime, and while all the other scenes are happening, Derek and Marcus and whatever would still be at Park Drive going through the death and whatever, but we'll just be filming, like, the characters in Kelton. And then towards, like, after the advert break, like obviously after the advert break, Derek and them will come as it'll get night time in Kelton. But yeah, that's all I meant. It's like it's like kind of like picturing me streaming now, but picturing like what someone else is doing on this exact day, and showing what that other person's doing. So in other words, it's like watching my stream today, but then watching like someone else's stream who streamed on the same day as me, if that makes sense. I'm sure, so yeah, then next we've actually got Lucy Boosie Hyde, 2001 to 2002, died. She shot a nappy too hard, so she was someone's baby who died for some reason, and then left. The parents must have left Park Drive, because there's been no Hydes in Park Drive. Empty graves, as you guys know. We have got Frank J. Wiggy. He is one of the Wiggy brothers. Yeah, he's one of the Wiggy brothers. Wiggy. Wiggy. Yeah, and you guys know that more recently there has been a Wiggy in Park Drive. There was a guy who went by the name as Jacob Wiggy, and basically the original intention with this guy's character was there was a guy called Alfred Wiggy. You'll see his grave a little bit later on. Used to have a shop here years ago, and this Alfred Wiggy was actually Jacob Wiggy's granddad. And Jacob Wiggy was supposed to come back to reopen the shop. Yeah, I need to fill those empty graves, definitely. You need to fill those empty 5 graves. Oh, you made 5, didn't you? Oh, I put some of the Park Drive characters just scattered around. I didn't actually put them in the 5. To be honest, I completely forgot because I saw like empty graves here. Look, as you can see, look, I put Tony. We're going to get down to some in a minute, but yeah, Jacob Wiggy was supposed to come and reopen the shop in honour of his granddad, but then he ended up being the criminal who locked Jimmy in the cellar when he caught Jimmy trying to steal in his house at the moving in party. You know, his role in Park Drive, Jacob Wiggy didn't really stay, but the Frank J. Wiggies have never had anything to do with Park Drive. Frank J. Wiggy was obviously died 3 years before Park Drive started, and the Frank J. Wiggy you know, had no sort of mentioning in Park Drive apart from when Jacob came on the scene. Alright, we got Bill Woods. So obviously, you know, Bill Woods, Neil Woods' brother, Steve Woods' uncle, Ryan Woods' dad, Ethan Woods' dad. He was a little bit of a bad person. Kid, it's too hot outside. Yes, it is, Martin. So you guys know Bill Woods. He originally came to try and reunite with his son Ryan, but Ryan wasn't there. Ryan had actually gone on the run. He decided to stick around the neighbourhood, but some of his dark secret pasts actually went ahead and got exposed. One, that he used to beat Ethan's mum up, which you know, was a bad thing to do. There was also rumours that he'd raped her, but that never came out into a proper full storyline, which was due to Park Drive failing, due to Park Drive obviously ending. I didn't have the, you know, characters to keep going on with the episode, and I just had to make like quick drastic changes because I couldn't get like new characters and, you know, people to play like Ethan Woods' mum and different police officers and court people. It wouldn't have worked really that good. Bill Woods went to prison, got 10 years for killing the doctor, which we'll get onto him. He's somewhere about. And Bill Woods broke out on the final week and wanted to get payback on Sean. Just before Bill Woods went inside, Bill Woods had formed a relationship with Chelsea, and Chelsea had actually you know, found out that he'd done this killing. She'd gone to sort of, in a way, like, end it with him, but Bill Woods thought there was another chance and that he could win around through prison visits, but Chelsea had already had her mindset when Sean actually got back in there with her, and Bill Woods wanted to break out to get revenge on Sean, so he went to the vicar's house to obviously, you know, try and get some answers about where Sean is, and had a little hostage held game, and he got into a fight with a police officer, what had to break in, and the police officer had no choice but to shoot Bill Woods down and dead on the ground, and Bill Woods is now 6 feet under, and I put his grave here. Bill Woods originally did like live somewhere else for years, a few different places, but because I wanted to like remember the characters, I put them in the Park Drive grave, stuff like that. Sean Scouser. Sean Scouser is a character of his own. He had no relations in Park Drive for ages until his dad came on the scene. Basically, what went down in Chinatown is there was a storyline where Sean had been given permission to live in Martin's old house, but Martin did not like the idea of the permission, and Martin secretly had a plan that he was actually moving back to the neighbourhood, to his old house. Okay, Golden. And pretty much what went down is Sean was in a way living at Martin's house rent-free. He was giving rent to Noreen, but not giving rent to Martin. And Martin put pressure on, and Martin decided to, say that enough's enough, I want you out the house. And it made Sean remember... it reminded Sean of some stuff he went through as a kid, with some trouble with his dad, and then we actually brought his dad to the neighbourhood when his dad was set to be released out of prison. And then his mum also came on the scene, and was found out as his mum on the final week, and Sean Scouser died in a house fire with Nathan White, which the house exploded. The house exploded just before the firefighters could come back in to rescue them, and it was the fire that Sean Scouser had started. I loved playing Sean Scouser. One of my favourite characters to do. I remember I only was originally bringing him in as a little short-term character just to repair the cafe after the first fire, and everybody, for some reason, Martin and all them, just instantly loved the voice and said you need to keep him in Park Drive for longer. And Sean Scouser just seemed to stay in Park Drive right till the end. From his time, he seemed to always have, like, there was always a space in an episode to make him, like, have a talk to someone, or just some need to be able, an excuse to be able to put him in a scene so people could hear me do the Scouser accent voice, like. But he was, he was a fun character to play. I liked him. He wasn't what you would call a criminal, but if you annoyed him, he would maybe resort to doing some bad things. Ooh, you should put a grave for George Lucas for just a reason why he disappeared. Hey, that's a good idea. I might do that, I might do that. And here's Nathan White. Nathan White was played by... Oh yeah, I voiced Sean if you didn't obviously get that. Nathan White was played by Ben Thornton. Ben Thornton joined, I think, about 120 or something like that. He joined like not long before Christmas. He joined like around Christmas time of 2017, and he played the role right till the end. He bought the chippy. He made out at first that he was a little homeless, but he actually had intentions to buy a business, and he had a bit more cash than he made out. He wasn't rich or anything, but he just was a bit more well off than people thought he was. And he died in the house fire alongside Sean Scouser. Now, the next grave, the best grave, the worst grave, a person who wouldn't be in this graveyard if Park Drive had have still carried on. Can you guess which grave it'll be? Which grave? Who do you reckon is on this grave? Right here. There's multiple people that could be on this grave. It could be the Doctor. It could be Steve Woods. It could be Marco Loco. Could be somebody. Who do you reckon it could be? Could be perhaps Noreen. Who do you think it could be on this grave? Well, it definitely wouldn't be Marco, because Marco died long before Park Drive was set to... oh, okay, Alfie. Park Drive was obviously still going strong when Marco died. Well, I wouldn't say strong, but it definitely wasn't on the edge of finishing for good. So it wouldn't be Steve Woods, because again, Steve Woods died when Park Drive was going good. It possibly maybe wouldn't I wouldn't say have been the Doctor either, because the Doctor would have the Doctor died again when Park Drive was still going alright. It is a matter of fact. I'm just going to wait to see if someone thinks they know who it is. I mean, it is quite simple, I suppose, but if you want to comment it, you can comment it. You know, it's completely and utterly up to you. All I'm going to say is 1944 to 2018. Do you want to comment? I mean, you don't have to, but I think it's getting quite obvious. We'll reveal a bit more. There we go, it's Noreen Race. One of the most iconic characters Park Drive has ever seen. The best character Park Drive has ever had, in my opinion. Just, there was something about Noreen, exactly, Alfie. There was something about Noreen, what she could make people laugh. She was the mother of Park Drive. You know, Paul, Martin, Steve. Well, Steve in the early days of Park Drive, you know, Harrison, Jamie, they were all sons to her. They all were sons, and Sarah was like a daughter. She mothered them. She cared for them. She'd never see them go without any food. She'd, you know, if they had needed somewhere to stay, no matter, you know, if there was 6 people staying, she would do her best to, you know, to fit another bed somewhere, just to make sure that someone had a warm shelter for the night. Noreen was the most kind character, but could have a grudge against you if you did something to pee her off. A few times Derek has done a few things what Noreen hasn't been keen on, and Noreen hasn't forgiven him in a couple of seconds. Noreen has been angry, especially the time when Derek took a picture of his dick and it got posted online. Noreen wasn't too happy about that, and she was obviously a bit angry with him, and she was for a while. And the same when she found out that he was growing a weed farm up in the attic. That was also another sort of time where Noreen was angry with Derek. There was a time when Derek went missing after the wedding due to what had happened to Steve Woods and stuff, and Noreen found him boozing in an empty house. Noreen was the most iconic character. Also opened up her own comedy show with Derek, who's played by Ant Chambers. I just want to give this moment to say a massive shout out to Ant Chambers, a massive thank you to Ant Chambers for playing the husband of Noreen. I think, you know, bringing Derek in was one of the best decisions we'd ever made in Park Drive. And I want to also give a massive shout out to Martin, who also played Noreen's adopted son. But it was just the perfect family. It was my favourite Park Drive family. Derek, Noreen, Martin as the son, Billy as the grandson. You know, they had their ups and downs, but, you know, when it came to Christmases, when it came to birthdays, they could still sit round at the family table and have a laugh and reminisce about the good things. And that's what I liked about this family. You know, no matter what, you know, things chucked at them, no matter what happened, you know, to the family, you know, even if Martin left, he would always come back at some point. He would always even send Noreen a birthday card. You know, even if Martin had been put into prison for whatever reason, he would have still done his best to write a birthday card for Noreen in prison. That's the type of family that it was. And bye Jabbo if you're leaving. Yeah, massive shout out to Martin though, for making the Race family / Johnson family even better. Even better. Alright, we're nearly done now. We're nearly done here. So we have shit Misen. Oh wow. Oh, you're not saying bye? Oh, it looked like you put a guy waving. Died. Shit. Laxative. Inject. Oh wow. We'll ignore that one. Oh wow. And we'll ignore that one too. In loving memory of Tom Tucker. No actual Tuckers or anything in Park Drive. same with that one as well. We can ignore that one. Reese needs help. We can ignore that one too. Actually, that can go. We've got Xing Chai Chang. He was some relation to Mr. Wongi Wu. Put George Locus in after these. Yes, I will do. I will put him somewhere. But yeah, he was some relation to Mr. Wongi Wu. He died in 2015. He was born in 1960. We've got here's Dr. Longskull. Dr. Longskull diagnosed Noreen with the dementia, but he'd got the test results wrong, and that was, to be honest, his only storyline in Part Drive. Bill Woods killed him when he pushed him off the balcony of not the vicar's house, but a house further up here, which was meant to be where the vicar, where the doctor was living. Bill Woods pushed him off from here. He did a few doctor scenes, but nothing to really, I don't know, nothing to really, throw a party about. He wasn't like a big, Part Drive character or anything. He was just there, I suppose, when we needed him, and then we killed him off because we didn't really use him. But he was an alright character. I enjoyed playing him still. Steve Woods was my main character until Noreen became the main character. But what I mean by main character is Steve Woods is the person where I didn't try to put a voice on, I didn't try to be funny, I didn't try to act like an old lady or an old man. I just spoke as I speak now, and he was Shirley Woods' son, Neil Woods' son, Jonathan Woods' brother, and he went absolutely mental, did Steve Woods. He lost his mum and he committed a crime which he didn't mean to do. He was very sorry for it, and then he accidentally committed another crime, and then when he accidentally committed this other crime, it kind of messed him up even more, and then he decided to still be a criminal. To the point where he found it funny to terrorise people, to call them names, to annoy them, to put them in dangerous situations, to kidnap people. He kidnapped Noreen, he kidnapped Derek, but good old Martin came to save the day on episode 100 when he had Derek tied up at gunpoint, and yeah, Martin came in, saved the day. Martin got the better of Steve, as Martin always gets the better of Steve. Just like the time when Martin locked him up in his garage with Marco. Marco Loco is evil. Marco was evil, but not compared to Steve. Not compared to Steve. Marco just wanted a bit of payback for something that he went down for something which he hadn't done, and he just wanted payback. Yeah, Marco maybe did go a bit insane, a bit too sort of wanting to get the payback, but I gotta give it to him. Marco wasn't that bad. Marco did obviously commit some crimes though. Marco obviously pushed someone off a bridge. So yeah, Marco did go a bit criminal, but when you compare to Steve starting fires, kidnapping, pushing people out of windows, tormenting people, pushing people off of roofs, Steve Woods definitely gets the Villain of the Year award in terms of that one. But Steve Woods was my most fun character to play. I didn't kill him off because I got bored of playing him. I would have loved to have kept playing him, but to me it just seemed to fit the storyline to kill him off at the time. So we killed him off. I thought, I'm going to sacrifice it for the Part Drive team, for the cast, and there we go. We've already talked about Bill. We've gone past his grave, I'm afraid. We've got Becky Race. Becky Race, I think, was Noreen's grandma. So Noreen's grandma. So Sammy Race's mum, 1921 to 1992. Possibly a little bit, or actually no, it wouldn't actually. It would be Noreen's auntie. I apologise, it would be Noreen's auntie, because if we go over to Sammy Race, 1921 to 19... 1980. So yeah, it would have been Noreen's auntie. And last but not least, we have Alfred Wiggy, which was just that other Wiggy brother from earlier. But that is all the Park Drive cast, crew, and characters. So let me go ahead and swap this grave for George Locus. And if there is any other Park Drive characters who you think should be in this graveyard for whatever reason, you know, let me know. So, tell me, Jabbo. What date would George be born, and what date would George have died? Well, I'm guessing he would have died 2016, maybe 17. He might have made it to 2017, but I don't know. Okay, 1989 to 2017. If you can think of any more characters who would have, you know, possibly. He was in like one episode. Yeah, he did episode 12, I think. But there we go. I'm kind of half debating about, it's Jabba. I'm kind of half debating, you know, about, Gary. Maybe making out that Gary died. Because if you think about it, after the affair, you didn't really see much of Gary. So, yeah, plays Marcus. So maybe Jamie could have done something like killed him. Yep, and Jacob from Lost on an Island. And he also played a Jabbo in a GTA series, and then he also played a brother of Jabbo in the same GTA series. But that was on my old channel. And he also played in other, yeah, Gary was funny. Gary was probably the female version of Mary, the male version of Mary in terms of like funny. They were like the, I guess you could say like the two just idiots of Park Drive, the two just sort of like not normal people of Park Drive. And when I say like not normal, you know, just not right in the head, do daft things what normal people wouldn't do. You know, like Deadly Neighbours is good. Yeah, I just did it as a little one-off, you know. I was on GTA one night, you know, says, shall we record something? So I just thought, well, yeah, you know, why not? Let's record something. So we decided to record something, and it was just a little show about. It was the original idea. It was going to be a show about two neighbours what don't get along, and they always like argue over like pathetic stuff. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Jabbo. Yeah, it was, yeah, okay. Fair enough, Martin. But yeah, yeah, we just did it as a one-off, really. But it was originally meant to be a little series about two neighbours what don't get along, and they always argue about, you know, little things like one person, like they'd annoy each other, like they'd put like shelves up late at night just to annoy each other. They'd do like little things like, you know, like I'd park my car. you know, like right outside his house, and I'd play the stereo loud just to annoy him. But then it turned into more of a serious, like, serial killer drama. Are you going to continue it? I'm not certain yet. It was only like a little one-off thing, just for something different to do. If I do decide to carry it on, there'll only be like 5 or 6 episodes of it probably, just to like combine the end of this story. It's not going to be a good ending though. It started off as like the sort of like, I guess, like the bad neighbours, but you know, like this guy's gonna like basically absolutely destroy me. We will see Noreen, because Derek and Noreen show, possibly. I'm a bit undecided about that yet. Like, I kind of don't know, like, because Noreen, like, the actor of Noreen, like, the pretend actor of Noreen is actually an old lady herself. And the story behind it is that Noreen was going to retire until she got offered the Park Drive contract, the person who plays Noreen. So I was kind of thinking that maybe now Noreen's, like, died from Park Drive, that maybe that would, you know, she'd call it an end, and like that would be it for Noreen. But you know, I kind of in a way like would like to still do like the Derek and Noreen show, but I just wasn't sure like if it'd really work, because like the Derek and Noreen show was like set in Park Drive. It was like a fictional like comedy show set around Park Drive. So I was kind of thinking like, you know, Ash, you could rename your channel to NTV Hub. That way you don't have to make different channels. You know what? That is a good idea for comedy and kids. That is a good idea, you know, Martin. It was either that or going back to NTV Studios, but I think NTV Hub might be a good idea actually. Because in a way it is kind of like the NTV Hub, isn't it? The ITV Hub, because you can watch the episodes like after they've been like uploaded. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you can watch them like 2 days after they were released. So it's kind of in a way like catching up on the Hub. Like it's not like, say, like if you don't watch the episode, you know you've missed it, because you can go back and watch it. So that's actually a good idea. We need to make an NTV Hub logo, definitely. Yeah, it's like catch up for every yeah, I like that idea actually. I don't know if it was you, Martin, who I was telling about the city touring. You know, like touring people's cities on NTV2. I'm going to be doing that very soon, as I've actually come across some pretty good cities just recently. So you can expect that to start very soon. Yeah, like BBC iPlayer. What kids shows do you like, and what shows do you hate? Oh, I thought it was Martin. Kids shows do I hate? Well, when I was a kid, I liked I did watch TV, but I didn't like mentally watch it like all the time. Like, you know, I liked things like SpongeBob. I was into Ben 10 at one time. I used to like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there used to be a program called Jackie Chan Adventures, a little like animated cartoon, that used to be on this kids channel that isn't a kids channel anymore. I can't remember what it was called. I don't know if I can't tell you what it was called, but are you doing it like a travel guide series? Yes, I am, Martin. I'm gonna do it like as if like you were looking to stay in that city. So I'd say like, you know, this is the beautiful sort of I don't know, whatever the guy's city's called, you know, and then I'd say like why I'd like state some of the reasons why you'd want to come to this city. And then I would go ahead and sort of like show you around some of the iconic locations, hotels you could stay in. Then I'd show you like some of the like shopping areas and places to eat. and stuff like that. Some of the views to see, some of the attractions to do, and you know, like how it would be a great city to stay in. And then I'd like put a pretend phone number or something at the end of the program. So then I'd say like, if you have found this episode interesting, and you would like to inquire about staying in one of the hotels at this city, then please do call this number on 013 262 754 353, or please visit www.ntv.com/holidays or whatever. And stuff like that. And I might also like throw in a competition as well, just a pretend like competition. If you are struggling for funds, don't worry, you can enter our competition where you will get 3 nights at the Grand Hotel in Kingston City. You will be offered with a wide range of evening meals, breakfast and fun things to do around the city, such as entrances into the Kingston City Ferris wheel. You will get a show at the Kingston City Arena where you will see MC Noble live with Martin Boost, and you know, there'd be some other stuff as well. And you will also get 45,000 diamond spending money. Why? You know, or something like that, you know. You get the point, but each episode would be like in a different city, and they'd all have like different, you know, eating you know, different sort of, you know, viewings around. Yeah, viewing, I guess you would call it. But yeah, Martin, that is true as the deep blue. True as the deep blue. Martin Boost. I miss Martin Boost and the MC Noble lives. They were quite good. Saying that though, there's going to be a real MC Noble live. Let alone a Minecraft one. Yeah, I remember the shows. But you see, with Britain's Got Talent, that's going to be like, well, I mean, if I get through to the semi-final, that's a live show. So, what can I say? What can I say? I remember I'd be rushing home to make it for 7. Oh yeah, no, I remember one time, and I think I messaged you on Instagram, and you were at the park, and I was like, right, we've got everybody here, we're about to start the live show, and you were like, right, just let me, you know, just let me quickly cycle home, and about 10 minutes later you come online, you were like, I think you were like out of breath or something. I'm not sure when my audition is. I've got to find out in a later email. I find out in a later email, which they're gonna send me later this year. I think I've got to do a non-televised audition, which is, you know, just like, you know, like the very sort of like first basic simple ones, and then if I get past this, then I'll probably go through to the televised audition where I'll be then seen on telly. But you know, I think they've got to like make sure that you're not going to do something stupid, you know, like that could be like rude or offensive, you know, or something that isn't allowed. You know, obviously if you just got set loose to audition on TV straight away, you know, anyone could come on. You know, you could have someone like trying to hoax the show who would possibly like, you know, like use something dangerous that could sort of like affect a lot of people. Yes, I'm a head out. Ash, I'm a head out. Good luck with the BGT. Well, it's not going to be till next year anyway, like, at the most, I don't think. And there isn't even a chance that I'll even get through, like, just because I've applied to audition. You know, there's a lot of people what do audition, you know, and at the end of the day, like, as much as I could be good, they can only have so many people on the show, can't they? So, do you know what I'm saying? Like, the end of the day, like, you know, they can't pick everybody, so like, you know, I could get dropped, like, not necessarily because I was good, because I was bad, but just say, you know, there was that many good people that they have got to choose a better a better person, like, in the end, if you get what I mean. But yeah, we're going to leave this stream here anyway, guys. We've had a little reminisce about Park Drive, the old days, the good old days. So yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Hello, Katie. Bye-bye.